Africa really dangerous? Or has the world been lied to? They told him one thing before he boarded the plane to Africa. Don't go. You may never come back. His friends laughed. His family panicked. One person even asked him to write a will. Because according to the internet, Africa was nothing but war, disease, poverty, and danger. But 14 days later, the man who returned from Africa said something shocking. Everything I believed about Africa was a lie. For decades, millions of people around the world have grown up seeing the same image of Africa. Starving children, violence, tribal wars, dusty villages, wild animals roaming streets. Hollywood movies showed Africa as a place people escape from. Western news often focused only on tragedy, and social media repeated the same narrative again and again. But here's the question nobody asks. Why does the world rarely see the modern cities? The technology? The luxury? The beauty? The kindness? The culture? The intelligence? The innovation? Why is Africa usually shown only through suffering? And more importantly, is Africa truly dangerous? Or has the world been trained to fear a continent it barely understands? Tonight, we uncover the truth. When American travel filmmaker Daniel Ross landed in Lagos, Nigeria, he was terrified. Not because of what he saw, but because of what he had heard. At the airport, he held his camera tightly. His heart raced. He expected chaos. But instead, he saw modern buildings, luxury cars, business professionals, massive shopping malls, traffic similar to New York, and people laughing everywhere. The Uber driver smiled and asked, "First time in Africa?" Daniel nodded nervously. The driver laughed. "Relax. You're safer than you think." That sentence stayed in Daniel's mind because it contradicted everything he had ever believed. Here's something most people never realize. Africa is not a country. It is a continent with 54 countries, over 1.4 billion people, thousands of languages, and countless cultures. Yet somehow, the entire continent is often generalized into one negative stereotype. When crime happens in Europe, people blame the criminal. When crime happens in Africa, people blame the continent. And while dangerous places absolutely exist in Africa, dangerous places also exist everywhere else. There are dangerous streets in America, dangerous cities in Europe, dangerous neighborhoods in Asia. But those continents are never reduced to a single story. Africa often is, because fear sells faster than truth. Daniel continued his journey through several African countries, and what shocked him most was the hospitality. Complete strangers invited him into their homes. People offered him food. Taxi drivers protected him from scams. Children waved at him excitedly. In Ghana, he walked safely at night with locals. In Rwanda, he saw one of the cleanest cities he had ever visited. In Kenya, he met young tech entrepreneurs building million-dollar companies. In South Africa, he filmed luxury neighborhoods more beautiful than places he had seen in Los Angeles. But strangely, these images rarely trend online because positivity is often ignored. Now, let's be honest. Africa does face real challenges: corruption, poverty, political instability in some regions, infrastructure problems, conflict in certain countries. But here's the truth. No continent is perfect, and reducing Africa only to its problems is deeply unfair, because Africa is also the future of global youth, one of the fastest growing tech markets, rich in culture, rich in resources, and filled with extraordinary people. Many Western tourists visit Africa expecting fear and leave questioning everything they were taught. One night, Daniel sat with a local family in Nigeria during a power outage. No luxury, no fancy restaurant, no expensive hotel, just people talking, laughing, sharing food under candlelight. And then the mother asked him a question he could never forget. Why does the world think we are monsters? Daniel had no answer, because in that moment, he realized something painful. Many people who speak negatively about Africa have never even been there. Their opinions were built from headlines, movies, and stereotypes, not reality. So, is Africa dangerous? Sometimes, just like America, just like Europe, just like anywhere else on Earth. But is Africa only danger? Absolutely not. Africa is beauty, energy, music, innovation, history, humanity, resilience. It is millions of untold stories hidden behind one unfair narrative. And perhaps the greatest tragedy is not that Africa has problems, but that the world often refuses to see anything else. Before Daniel left Africa, the same Uber driver who picked him up asked one final question. So, was Africa what you expected? Daniel smiled, then quietly replied, no, it was far more human. And maybe that's the biggest lie ever told about Africa. Not that it is dangerous, but that it is different from the rest of the world. Because once you truly see Africa, you may begin questioning everything the world taught you. Would you visit Africa after hearing this story? So now I want to hear from you. Do you think Africa is unfairly portrayed by the media? Or do you believe the stereotypes are true? Comment your country below and tell us your honest opinion. And if this video changed the way you see Africa, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story with someone who needs to hear it. Because sometimes, the biggest lies are the ones repeated the most. So now I want to hear from you. Do you think Africa is unfairly portrayed by the media? Or do you believe the stereotypes are true? Comment your country below and tell us your honest opinion. And if this video changed the way you see Africa, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story with someone who needs to hear it. Because sometimes, the biggest lies are the ones repeated the most. See you in the next story.